Final question of the night. Lee Moore will start us off. Here's question 6. When 2020 began, the legislature already faced difficult choices for the budget in light of lower than expected revenues. The pandemic makes those difficulties seem trivial. What will be your guiding principles in formulating a budget in 2021? Where will you seek revenue, and where will you prioritize making cuts? Lee Moore is first.
Well, that's the hot question of the day. I've been talking to several people in the last several days about this because this is something that this next senator will be facing and be facing quickly. This virus has definitely taken the wind out of the sails of, in my opinion, the best economy we've ever seen. It's unfortunate, but as a state, we will have to make some very, very difficult decisions in the next 15 to 24 months, as I pointed out earlier. While we do have a sizable rainy day fund, current estimates are predicting budget shortfalls for the next year may not be completely covered by utilizing those dollars. The governor and the legislature will have to work together and review each budget line item and determine if it's necessary and should taxpayer dollars be spent. We won't have to, in my opinion, make very, very easy. They're going to be hard decisions. We're going to have to reduce spending. And I believe we should look at spending reductions first. I've not looked at the state budget. I don't see all the line items, but, I've been very familiar with my own budget in my business and as well as the city of Franklin Springs budget for the last 10 years. So I believe we should look at spending reductions before we draw down this rainy day fund in order to stretch those dollars as far as we can. I believe taxpayer dollars should only be spent if it's constitutional. If it reduces the size and scope of government, and it should lessen, not raise any tax burden on Georgians. I mean, we're going to have to look through a lens like that to be able to balance the state budget for the next several years as our state and economy rebound. It can be done. We've done it before, and we're going to do it again. Georgia's resilient, and we'll be back stronger than before. I guarantee you that. I've seen firsthand what good can be done for a community when there's a team that provides strong leadership. In Franklin Springs, we eliminated debt, updated roads and infrastructure, and improved city services, all while cutting taxes. And now the city of Franklin Springs is in strong financial shape. And to further your question, Tim, would I support a tax increase or raising any other revenue streams to balance the budget? Absolutely not. Raising taxes only makes government bigger, less efficient, and a bigger burden on the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Bo Hatchett is next.
I think it's a great question. And first, I want to just address that we're lucky that Governor Deal was able to turn our state finances around and leave us such a great rainy day fund. So we're going to be more equipped to handle this than other states who did not practice conservative financial, that didn't have the conservative financial leadership that we have now. What we'll have to do is we'll have to sit down and look at the budget. And I would request that every state agency should have to justify every dollar that's spent, because the way that we get through this is not by raising taxes, but it's going to have to be by cutting government spending, and having every agency justifying every single dollar that's spent would definitely help us solve this problem.
Thank you, Bo. Dan Gassaway is next.
Well, this is one of the reasons experience matters for your next state senator. One of the best things Nathan Deal did as governor was to build up the rainy day fund. Unfortunately, I believe that money is gone. I believe that we're through the rainy day fund, and I think we probably are running about $1 billion deficit right now. And the choices that we're going to face your next state senator are something like nobody's ever had to deal with, including Nathan Deal in 2008, 9, and 10. This is a very serious problem. We're going to have to really scrutinize public education and find out where we can find more efficiencies. I think that we will see structural changes to our public education system where possibly we have 4 days in school and 1 day of home learning, or something creative that will teach us how to do online learning better. But that's half or more than half your state budget. So your teachers are going to get the burden of this. There's no way around it. We've got a lot of money and a lot of waste in higher ed. But higher ed has always been the protected by the executive branch because that's where former governor employees go to retire. They go to higher ed. That's how it's always worked. And so that's built protection into higher ed. As far as financial protections, we're going to have to plow through that this time because this is a financial challenge like we've never seen before. And your next state senator is going to have to be ready to fight the lobbyists for both non-government interests and government interests to make the types of cuts that are going to have to be necessary. And it's not going to be a good thing. But the rainy day fund is already gone, I can assure you. And if anybody in this race doesn't realize that yet, they need to tune in because we are experiencing something truly challenging, and we're going to have to change everything we do to get through this.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Andy Garrison is up.
Very good. Well, I'm a firm believer in our zero-based budget where everybody has to justify every year their expenses. So I agree with everyone else that says that we need to identify those things that may be fluff, that may have been nice, and we need to recut those and justify what we spend in our budget. And as far as a revenue source, I think we can make our economy do the same, most of the hard work for us. We can do that by releasing some regulations, easing up some of those to promote our economy and stimulate our economy, to get people in here building, to get new companies coming in here to do business, to create our bigger tax digest. These are the things we need to stimulate our economy. And in stimulating that, of course, there's more tax dollars coming in and more monies to do to make up that rainy day fund. So cut expenses, raise revenue by promoting our economic positiveness through releasing regulations and stimulating our economy.
Thank you, Andy. Stacey Hall is up.
Yes, so this is certainly going to be a difficult issue that we're going to face. I do think that we're going to have some revenue shortfalls, and we're going to have to make some cuts. I can tell you I've worked on budgets my whole career, certainly as a business owner in corporate America. I managed a $100 million budget. We had to make some really tough decisions. And as chairman of the county commission, I can tell you we do nothing but face a lot of tough decisions related to our local county budget. Here's where I'm not going to look to cut, and that's in public safety. Our public safety folks have worked their tails off during this environment. I've been very upfront and close and personal with a lot of our first responders and see daily the sacrifices that they make, and that will be the last place that I'll look to make cuts, as well as education. Those folks are working hard and doing incredible things at this time. But everybody's, again, we're going to have to look at certain areas to make those cuts. But I want to encourage people, instead of talking about the negativity about making cuts, I think we can increase revenue, not through taxes, because I'm a conservative Republican. I do not support increased taxes and fees and that, because there's different ways you can raise money through fees as well. And I'm not going to support that. But I do think we can use the American spirit of ingenuity and help partner with our local businesses and businesses all across Georgia to help them increase their businesses, increase their revenue, which will increase our tax digest. Let's incentivize them. Let's streamline some processes. Let's do things that help them hire folks faster. Let's do some things from the vocational standpoint that helps get them the employees they need quicker to ramp things up. I think the secret is the quickness in how we ramp things up instead of cut. Now, yes, we're probably going to have to make some cuts, and it's going to be very difficult. Again, public safety, education are going to be the last areas I look. But again, I will focus as state senator on helping businesses ramp things up so we don't have to cut as much.
Thank you, Stacey. And wrapping up question number 6, Tricia Heiss.
Yes, thank you so much. Here's the thing. One thing that hasn't been brought up this evening are the tax credits that the film industry has been afforded, at least over the past 8 to 10, 12 years. And the reason why our rainy day fund is looking so bleak is because of the outstanding tax credits, which are due to be cashed in by June the 30th of this year. So we were already facing a major budget issue. And so adding the virus, the COVID-19, is creating a very difficult solution to an already very vast problem. So what do we do about that? Well, we've got to cut the pork. Each and every department is going to have to justify every dollar that is spent or every dollar that they are requesting. The frills and thrills of what's going on has got to be eliminated. You've got to look at ways of doing things more efficiently, ways of maybe, how much money can we save if we go to a 4-day work week in this department, or whether or not our education needs to be modified so that this happens in order to save money. So those things are very important. Innovation, renovation, reinvention, and the true American and Georgian spirit is going to have to come out, because listen, let me tell you something. Look at the billion-dollar industries that were created during a recession. There is opportunity out there, and we as citizens of this great state, and me as your next state senator, will be focusing on what we can do to support those businesses that are going to bring those revenues up. We are going to be looking at how to encourage, how to support, how to provide streamlining through reduction of regulations and rules. President Trump is doing an amazing job, and our governor has followed suit with that as it relates to cutting regulations that harm small businesses in this state. And by working together, we will be able to eliminate the fluff while preserving our entities that we have to preserve. And that includes education. It includes providing for our teachers so that we have the tools necessary to educate our kids. I am a post-certified law enforcement officer, having graduated from the police academy, and I know the value of backing our servicemen and women that are out there on the front lines. So those are all things that have to be preserved, but at the same time, we will cut where we have to cut, and we will be innovative in making those changes in order to get ourselves out of this.
Thank you, Tricia. That concludes question 6. Y'all can take a deep breath for a moment. We are now in the closing